Hey folks, Eric here, the Whatever Guy, because it really is whatever with me. And do you folks want to know who the winners and losers were for yesterday's presentations with the AMCC? You guys stick around, man, and I'll talk to you guys about that. As you guys know, my name is Eric. I am the Whatever Guy, and I usually shoot videos a couple days a week, basically keeping you guys updated in the world Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, hemp, cannabis, just what's going on around. And today we're going to talk about the first day presentations of these businesses that were making the presentations, the cultivators, to the Alabama Medical Cannabis Cartel. As you guys know, we've had this debacle going on for quite a while, but it's a good thing that they are actually sitting down and talking to these folks. And today we're going to talk about my opinion on who the winners and losers of yesterday's presentations were. So as we move forward, we talked about this many times. They've awarded the licenses twice, and we've got to a point now where they had an opportunity to speak to these applicants, and obviously that motion was shot down prior to the awarding of the second licenses. Now, when they moved into yesterday, yesterday was set up 20 minutes time for each person or each applicant to come in and explain themselves and talk about their past fails and any issues they may have had with their licensing moving forward. And I feel that this is something that they should have done long before they ever got to this point right here, because as we moved into those presentations yesterday, there were some glaring issues going on with a lot of the applicants. Some of those that were awarded licenses that don't even have a fucking building up. It's a crazy situation. We're going to talk about it just a little bit. So yesterday, Antoine Mordecan got up and he was the very first one to speak. And so I had my opinion was, when we first started, and by the way, let me just say this, by the way, there was only 60 people in the live stream for the AMCC on the website, and there was only about 10 or 12 people in the live stream for the Facebook. You guys, man, we got to get in touch with this. Like, we have to get to a point where we are actually supporting and standing behind what's going on. Antoine Mordecan was the first guy to speak yesterday, and so yesterday in the chat, one of the things I said is that I would want to be the one to speak last, and my thinking is that I would want to be the last person on their mind at the end of the day. But having said that, the way Antoine Mordecan presented himself and presented his company and presented his stuff was extremely expertly done. Now, I am someone that likes to speak out in the open. I'm someone that likes to speak public speaking. A lot of those people yesterday, you could tell that they weren't used to public speaking. I could tell that Antoine Mordecan probably speaks a little bit publicly, but not someone that it was in his environment yesterday. But as we got to the end of his presentation, you'll notice that he started speaking a little bit faster, and he started speaking a little bit more confidence, because he was 100% confident about what he was talking about. And let me just say this, like I said, I wanted to, I made the statement that I would want my presentation to be last. I changed that after I heard Antoine Mordecan's presentation, simply because he set the standard for everybody else after that. Like, the questions that he answered in his presentation before they even asked, and I've told you guys this many times, a lot of those people on the AMCC board don't know anything about cannabis, have no clue what's going on in the background, and have no clue what questions to ask. And when Antoine Mordecan went up there and gave his presentation, he answered questions that they should have been asking. And when those previous the next people came up after him, those people got asked questions that Mordecan. So he basically set the pace for the whole day, going throughout the day. And then we move on. Now, I'm not going to name any names of these companies and stuff like that. So if you guys were paying attention to what was going on yesterday, I personally watched every presentation, or not watched it, at least listened to it in the background while I was working on the computer. And the second people that came up, there was just a bunch of old guys. Now, I don't mean any disrespect by this, guys, but they was just a bunch of old guys that came up, and they basically sit and talk to the commission about all the buildings they built and all this other stuff. Like, one guy, the very second presentation that came up, he espoused about all the condominiums that he built over the stadium, I think at Auburn University or somewhere. And like, what does that have anything to do with any of this? Like, it doesn't. Like, none of those people, like a lot of those presentations that were going through yesterday, those people weren't even in the game. Like, they didn't have a building up. They didn't have any, like the one presentation that came up right before lunch. And like I said, I won't name the company. Those guys only asked for 10 minutes because they had been awarded a license in the first and second round. But when they got into their presentation, we figured out that they don't even have the fucking land cleared yet. Like, it would take them 30 days to get the land cleared and get a building up, these chicken houses or whatever that they're planning on using for marijuana grows. But the fact is that a marijuana plant takes 8 weeks to grow. And so we're already 60 days in right there before you even get the building up. So a lot of these people were finding out after the fact, through this conversation that they're having, were awarded licenses, and they're not even set up as good as some of the people that are out there. Bonnie Plants was set up really, really well in the cultivating space. Antoine Mordecan set up really, really well in the cultivator space. And a lot of those cultivators that came up just went up there and talked to the board like this was still the good old boy system. Like, there was a bunch of 80-year-old guys up there talking about the buildings that they built over football stadiums. What does that have to do with cannabis? cannabis? Like, what experience, what do you bring to the table to get cannabis up in 60 days? And a lot of those presentations like that came up there, especially the one that was glaring to me was the one right before lunchtime. Like I said, that guy came up, he only asked for 10 minutes. And I'm assuming that's because he's been awarded a license in the first 2 rounds. He doesn't even have the land cleared yet. Like it would take them, according to them, if they stayed on schedule, it would take them 30 days to get that land cleared and get a building up with the crews that they have. And I've been in construction, guys. That's where I came from. I came from the handyman space. I came from construction. I'm a licensed electrician. I've been doing it my whole life. And there's not anything you can tell me about building a building or clearing land or putting a pipe up in the middle of a field where a wall is going to be in 6 fucking months. Like they're not going to get those buildings built in 30 days. There was no way that company that got awarded a license twice was going to be able to get marijuana up on the shelf in 60 days. Antoine Mordecan, he could probably get marijuana up on the shelf in 60 days. Same thing with Bonnie Plants. Those guys could probably get marijuana up on the shelf within 60 days. But there was a lot of those companies in those presentations yesterday that don't even have, like we got into the lab. I think they did one lab presentation right at the end of the day yesterday, and those people don't even have the lab equipment for the building. Like I don't, they say they have the purchase orders ready, and they were renewing the purchase orders. That way, when they got the license, they would get the equipment, but they still got to get that equipment shipped. They've still got to get that equipment in place, and they've still got to get people trained on that equipment. And can they get that all done in 60 days? That's the question. And they may be able to do it in labs, but I'm positive, 100% positive that none of those cultivators that didn't have a building up already was going to be able to get marijuana up in 60 days. It's not happening. And look, what's up with the old people? Like, what's up with the old people? Like, can we get some people in there? I'm 51 years old. Can we get some people that are in there 40 and younger? Like people that are going to be legacy growers down the line, people that have been in this business for quite a while, not someone that's been building condominiums for football stadiums. We need people that have been in the growing space for a while. And Bonnie Plants, obviously Antoine Mordecan, and I think there was one other of those in there that was really, really good. I think they own a peanut farm or something like that. Those folks already had stuff in place to get marijuana up in 60 days. None of those other presentations could. Like that was a glaring thing to me. Like that one company that came in there only wanted 10 minutes because he'd been awarded I think he only wanted 10 minutes because basically he was awarded a license in the first 2 rounds, and felt like if he went up there and just spoke whatever he was going to speak, he would be awarded a license the third time around. But in my opinion, that guy shouldn't even be awarded a license. Those he should be passed over for someone like Antoine that already has the stuff in place to get this done and get this started. And they're already growing hemp, so they're already in the game already down the line, not starting from scratch like some of these other guys. And I might add that some of those presentations, there was a lot of hands in the pot. Some of those guys came up there, had 4, 5, 6 owners. One of them had some sort of plan where they were, everybody could somehow or another invest in the company, and they had 22 investors or some crap like that. Listen, man, I like those presentations where the guys went up and they said the buck stops here. And that's what Antoine said. He said the buck stops right here. I make the decisions on this company right here, and this is the way it's going to go. And I appreciated everything that he did. He set the pace, like I said, for everybody after that, because every person after that got asked, how are you going to educate people in the future? Like, what was your education plan going forward to educate people in Alabama about medical marijuana? And that was something that a lot of those presenters, applicant presenters, did not have ready to go prior to Antoine Mordecan making that announcement in the very first presentation. All right, folks, is Whatever Guy signing off. We've got another round of presentations today. Marty Shelper will be over on live, I believe, today, so you guys check her out. Do me a favor, man, go over to Facebook, check out the Alabama Cannabis Coalition. Obviously, there'll be a live stream for that today, and if you guys have any questions, please hit me in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys later, man. Love you. See ya.